Hi, I'm Bernard Tatunji, and with my wife Jane and our 5 children, we're part of the New South Wales Family Branch. And our topic for this video is Schoenstadt's educational tools give hope for our lives. In this Jubilee year, we're invited to pause and reflect not just on what Schoenstatt is, but on how it can shape our lives and our personal journeys of faith. We want to look at what some of the educational tools of the spirituality are, and we neatly call those Schoenstatt's toolbox. We think this is where the real gifts are that the movement has to offer, more than just being a grace-filled shrine on the hill that so many thousands of pilgrims visit each year. And it moves from that to being a real spirituality that offers transformation in the lives of individuals. In some sense, these are the hidden treasures that not enough people know about. After all, there are many places of pilgrimage in Australia. One can quite devoutly turn up to them and offer prayers and ask favours. But why do we feel called to join a family group and try to become more deeply part of the movement? It's because we identified something more, that we want to benefit ourselves and benefit our families. In 2011, the Schoenstatt Australia National Conference, the addresses were prepared by Father Jonathan Niehaus, a Schoenstatt father. Father Niehaus believed that if families were to remain religious in the world today, 3 things were needed. 1, the support of a pronounced religious community. 2, the support of clear knowledge. And 3, the support of outstanding personal example. Just giving these 3 some brief consideration can help affirm in us the value of the Schoenstatt movement as a real gift to us and to our families, and set us to consider the educational tools, or the toolbox as we're calling it. So the first of these 3 points is that of a pronounced religious community. In today's world, families often feel isolated in their faith. We might know a few Catholic friends, we might belong to a parish, but Schoenstatt gives us something more, a sense of belonging to a living spiritual family. And Schoenstatt is just that. It's a worldwide family with deep roots. If we consider Schoenstatt, one estimation counts about 180,000 members connected to the various branches, such as the family branches, the men, the women, the sisters, the priests, with tens of millions more connected through the Pilgrim Mother Apostolate, and as pilgrims to those 220 shrines, the replica shrines around the world. So even if we sense the smallness of the community or the movement in Australia, we know we're part of a 110-year-old community with so many members, and that should really give us some real encouragement, great spiritual encouragement. And this is important. Being part of Schoenstatt is not just about visiting the shrine now and then. It's about putting down roots, committing ourselves, letting the Blessed Mother work in us, not just once a month, but every day. Schoenstatt isn't meant to be something we fit in when we have time. It's something we're called to live. It's a community that can carry us and our families if we let it. The second support Father Niehaus spoke about is clear knowledge. Schoenstatt isn't just a social group. It isn't even just a prayer group. At its heart, Schoenstatt is a movement of formation, of growth. Our branches, our groups, our gatherings are meant to be places where we learn how to live the faith. Not in theory, but practically in today's world. And Jane will explore the theme of self-education a little later. The third support Father Niehaus spoke of was that families need the example of others who are striving. So in Schoenstatt, we don't walk alone. We have first the example of our founder, Father Kentenich. We have the stories of the founding generation. And perhaps more importantly, we have the everyday witness of movement members around us, men, women, families, sisters, priests, those who are living their covenant of love in real life. Their stories inspire us, their struggles remind us that we're not alone, and their faith encourages us to keep going. Schoenstatt invites us to share our lives, to support each other, to be real witnesses to one another. So in summary, as Catholics striving to remain faithful in a secular world, we need community, knowledge, and personal example. I'd say these are like the three legs of a stool. Each supports the other to make the whole operate correctly. Community without knowledge will not challenge us. Knowledge without example will only be a mental exercise. An example without community will tend to discouragement. I'm not saying that you'll only find these three aspects in Schoenstatt either, but I would say that there are not a lot of movements internationally and certainly in Australia that can tick those three boxes to the same level. Schoenstatt is quite unique in terms of its age, its internationality, its theological depth, and the breadth of membership options to cater for really all walks of life, as Father Kentenich intended. But perhaps the most important point of all, we believe that Schoenstatt has been chosen by the Blessed Mother in a unique way. What comes to me is the verse from St. Matthew's Gospel. The kingdom of heaven is like a merchant seeking beautiful pearls, who when he had found one of great price, went and sold all that he had and bought it. What we should really be wanting is to better understand the pearl we have been given in Schoenstatt as a means of grace for us and for our families. And if we have found Schoenstatt to be a spiritual pearl, how much are we willing to do, to give, or give up, to better enrich ourselves and our families? Maybe this is all new to you, or maybe you've been around Schoenstatt for a while, and you still have roots in many groups and movements. I'd challenge you to put all this before Our Lady in the shrine and consider becoming always a better Schoenstatter, that you might become a better Christian. Use the toolbox, use the movement, and see what Our Lady has in store. So I'm going to hand over to Jane to continue. I'm just going to give her the microphone.
Thanks, Bernard. So this brings us to the toolbox itself. We're using the image of the toolbox in this talk because we think it's a really helpful way to visualise the spiritual gifts of the movement. Technically, we can call this Schoenstatt's pedagogy or educational style, but we think a toolbox is a very clear analogy that we'd like to use. So imagine a toolbox, a single container holding many different tools. Each tool serves a purpose. Each tool is there to help. It's about finding the right tool for the job in order to do what we need. And we need to know what those tools do and how to use each of them. So Schoenstatt is very much about personal freedom. So it may be that one tool resonates more deeply with one person or family and another with someone else. Some of the examples we want to highlight as part of Schoenstatt's spirituals toolbox are as follows, and we've ordered them into what we personally see as being the most basic through to those that require some more depth. And some of these become more real as we are invited into deeper levels of membership within along our Schoenstatt journey. So some of the more simple Schoenstatt tools, we have the capital of grace, that jar of offering, where we offer our daily struggles and joys into the hands of Mary. We have the covenant of love, a two-way relationship with Mary that transforms our lives. There's the home shrine, a sacred space in our homes. And then some other tools that take us deeper. A Schoenstatt hour, which is some intentional time put aside for couples or families to reflect together. The personal ideal, where we discover our unique mission in life. And another tool, the spiritual daily order, made up of small daily resolutions, which may then lead to a monthly report. So we could go through each of these point by point, but what we'd prefer to do is to talk about some overarching themes that resonate with us. The first is that of freedom. Schoenstatt doesn't give us a rigid formula. It invites us to choose the tools that resonate with us, that fit our stage of life. What matters is that we choose, that we engage, that we allow these tools to shape our lives. This spiritual freedom can create an interesting dilemma, little like a double-edged sword. We found a passage in this book, 100 Years Journey, A View of Schoenstatt, that we really felt very accurately depicted this dilemma. It's a little long, but I think it's a good one. Aspiring for sanctity in Schoenstatt does not have many norms. Therefore, some become bewildered. It is centered on love, because that is how Christ is. In the cultivation of the Spirit, in generosity, in magnanimity, and in aspiring for the highest ideals. It is a way of sanctity where each day we can dream more and give more. There aren't so many already made channels, so many clear norms. There is no life plan traced out exactly for everyone. This is perhaps something that at times is hard for us because we seek minimums, securities, certainties, and we ask ourselves, while restless, what do I have to do? How should I go? What do I choose? We ask the priests, our friends, the sisters. We seek clear answers, precise, exact. We want perhaps for others to make decisions for us and release us from the responsibility. But Mary in the shrine seeks to form free men, autonomous, capable of making decisions, faithful to the truth of their lives. The key of Schoenstatt is that we can freely aspire for more from our own originality at the time God has for us, speaking in the soul with Mary, telling her of our dares and challenges, our fears, our life with its limitations. In this way, we find our personal style, that name written in our heart and in the heart of Christ, that hidden strength in our history, which only with the eyes of God can we find and give. I really loved this passage when I read it. Because every person is different, it makes sense that every spiritual journey is different. And just as God calls each one of us by name, so too does he lead us to himself in a unique way. This then takes us to another theme that I'd like to explore, and that is self-education. It is such a fundamental aspect of the spirituality, and yet it's also a topic that until quite recently I had somewhat of a misunderstanding about. I have been hanging around the movement for a little over 10 years now, and I've heard the term self-education many times. And all the while, I've been introduced to various texts and documents about the history, the founder, the pedagogy, living out the spirituality. And I thought that this must have all been a part of this process of educating myself. It was only quite recently, in the last few months, that I suddenly realised in one of our group meetings that self-education is in fact referring to my growth in understanding of myself, to know myself, self-education. This realisation was huge for me because it resonated so powerfully with who I am and what I'm passionate about and how I already try to live my life. When you think, how can I improve as a student or a worker if I don't understand my strengths and weaknesses? How can I be a better wife and mother if I don't really know myself? How can I make a good confession if I haven't properly examined myself? And ultimately, how can I strive to be a better Christian without self-knowledge? Some of the tools, which are further down our list, are reliant on deep personal reflection and striving. Developing a personal ideal, for example, can take some time to discover. But it is certainly something that's valuable and worth striving towards and working at it, as it will help to provide a stronger foundation upon which to build even greater things. Another example is the value of the Schoenstatt Hour for married couples. You could call it a power tool in the spiritual toolbox. It's the perfect way to offer support and ensure accountability. Again, it provides an opportunity to foster this culture of education and striving within the home or family. This deeply personal aspect of the spirituality is why we can talk about being pilgrims of hope. I used to wonder why it took so long to invite someone to make their covenant of love. Why not just ask straight away? But I've come to realise that this is something that must grow organically. It has to be lived, not forced. The covenant isn't a box to tick, it's a living relationship. It's not something you can rush because it must flow from a real encounter, from a real desire to walk more closely with the Blessed Mother. After all, there's no fooling God or ourselves about where we're at on that path. I was recently listening to a podcast where a young mother was talking about how becoming a parent is overwhelming and it can't be reduced to a method or a formula. It must be lived. And I thought it's very much the same with our Schoenstatt journey. We can read all the books and learn all the pedagogy and still not quite get it until we've lived it every day in the small daily struggles and joys. It's important to know that as pilgrims, we're not wandering aimlessly. We're on a path, one that does have a destination. It is a path towards God. And at those times when we feel uncertain or even lost, we can still walk with hope because we walk together. We don't have to have all the answers. We simply need hearts that are willing to keep moving forward, no matter how slowly, and to really trust that grace is at work, even when we can't see it. Schoenstatt isn't just any Catholic group. It is a gift, perhaps that pearl of great price, one which offers us community, formation, inspiration, and some very practical educational tools. And most of all, hope. Hope that holiness is possible. Hope that transformation is possible. Hope that our Blessed Mother is walking with us, guiding us gently but surely. So today, we invite you to use the toolbox. Choose your tools. Trust the process and even enjoy it. Yep.
So we have our reflection questions to share. Sorry. Okay. So the 4 reflection questions. Number 1, how do you currently practice self-education? Understanding yourself more deeply in the light of faith. Where do you sense room for growth? Number 2, what does spiritual freedom mean to you? Do you find it liberating or challenging to have the freedom to choose your own path and tools? Question 3. Do you see Schoenstatt as a pearl of great price in your life? Why or why not? What might help you value and use this pearl more fully? And question 4. What small practical step can you take this week to engage more intentionally with Schoenstatt spirituality or tools? Thank you very much. God bless you and see you next time.